Good Monday afternoon, and thanks for being with us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. Happening right now, crews are out cleaning up this mess of a massive snowstorm that was left behind this weekend. Some places saw over a foot of snow, and it'll probably stick around for a few days while cold temperatures settle in. We'll check in with the weather team in just a little bit. Right now, though, snow emergencies are in effect across the Twin Cities as MnDOT works to clear roads. In Minneapolis and St. Paul, parking is not allowed on day plow routes. There's a long list on both cities' websites showing safe places to park. If your car is not moved off a day plow route, you will be ticketed and towed. St. Paul officials tell us 40 crews have been plowing throughout the night on all 73 plow routes. If you're outside the Twin Cities and taking a state highway anywhere, you may still find slick conditions. MnDOT tells us they did not do a lot of pre-treating ahead of the storm because the ground was warm enough to melt that first wave of snow. Crews over at MSP Airport are working to get things back on track after hundreds of delays and cancellations this weekend. Right now, there are more than 160 delays and 70-plus cancellations. Around 700 flights were canceled Sunday, according to the airport's website. Per FlightAware, that accounts for around 75% of all the flights in and out of the airport. With passengers stranded in a near-empty airport due to the blizzard conditions, airport employees told Kare 11 the normally packed terminals look almost unrecognizable.
That's a bit frustrating because it was like, oh, you finna go home Sunday. Now it's delayed. They were saying, oh, I might go home Monday or Tuesday.
When coming in, there's nobody downstairs, and there's usually a ton of people.
Have you ever seen it this dead before?
During COVID. Yep, that's about it.
Rochester Airport was also closed for several hours. It reopened this morning, but the first few flights out were canceled. If you're traveling in or out of MSP today, be sure to check with your airline. Right now, a group of students and chaperones from the Bloomington Kennedy High School show choir are stranded in California. They're now asking for more than $30,000 after their flight home was canceled. The group is in LA for a show choir competition. The money will help cover new flights and buses for the 126 students on the trip. Right now, the plan is to fly to Salt Lake City, then to Denver, where 2 charter buses will drive them home. The choir did start an online fundraiser to help them get home, and we have a link to that on our website. New today, the U.S. has started a large-scale release of its strategic oil reserves. The first batch is expected to enter the market later this week. This is meant to push more oil into the market and, in turn, lower gas prices. Those prices have skyrocketed ever since the U.S., Israel, and Iran war started. Meantime, several nations are saying no to President Trump's demand to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Today, both Australia and Japan said they're not planning on sending warships to help secure the critical oil route. The back and forth over the strait is what's driving up gas prices. Right now in Minnesota, it'll cost you about $3.43 per gallon. That's up 84 cents a gallon from this time last month. Nationally, the average is sitting at $3.72 per gallon. Energy Secretary Chris Wright says it's tough to tell the future during a war.
Are you confident that gas will be back under $3 a gallon by the busy summer travel season, Mr. Secretary?
There's a very good chance that'll be true. There's no guarantees in war. The time frame's still not entirely clear, but I think that's certainly a goal of the administration and very possible.
Wright says Americans will feel the price pinch for a few more weeks. Developing right now, new strikes were reported across the Middle East as Iran hit back against energy infrastructure, while Tehran came under intense attacks as the war launched by the U.S. and Israel entered its 3rd week. NBC's Matt Bradley reports from Tel Aviv.
Now we're well into the 3rd week of that Israeli and American offensive against Iran, and it looks like it is going to continue. There are no signs that the fighting between Israel, where I am right now, and Iran is going to be letting up. We were woken up this morning with yet another air raid siren. The IDF has said that the Iranians are still attacking, but with fewer and fewer missiles per salvo. So that means we're starting to see fewer and fewer injuries and deaths here. The Israelis have said that they've struck over 200 Iranian targets in just the past 24 hours, including intelligence hubs, weapons manufacturing facilities, all the menu of targets that they've been pursuing for more than the past 2 weeks Meanwhile, this struggle over the Strait of Hormuz is continuing as well. Oil prices have not subsided to the level they were before the war, and in fact, they remain extremely high. And President Trump is now begging U.S. allies to participate in policing the Strait of Hormuz to allow it to open up once again to international shipping. However, the president had spent much of his first term and a lot of this beginning of his second term criticizing American allies, criticizing NATO members. Now he's asking them to participate in a U.S.-led operation. And that is not going to be lost on the American allies who had before been trying to discourage the president from a lot of his foreign adventures, including taking over Greenland. Matt Bradley, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
Right now, in a Kare 11 News exclusive, a detainee picked up during Operation Metro Surge is sharing what life is like for people inside ICE's massive detention center in El Paso, Texas. This is the same facility under scrutiny for overcrowding and allegations of medical neglect. Here's Sammy Salina.
A harmonious life in Alfredo Salguiro's home was interrupted in January with a cacophony at his doorstep.
It's okay.
Feeling that in my own house, it was like really disappointed.
They did to our door.
Federal agents broke through his door and detained Alfredo and his daughter Astrid, leaving his youngest, Jaylee, who does have citizenship.
They took my daughter, they took Astrid.
The agents presented his family with a warrant of removal for a family member who doesn't live there anymore.
They have no heart.
Alfredo and Astrid were separated at the Whipple building. Alfredo was taken to Candy Ojai County Jail in Wilmer, where they have an agreement with ICE.
My biggest fear was like if they will decide to deport me to my country.
His attorney tells us he's been a temporary protected status holder for more than 20 years and has a current pending application.
It was a really bad experience. It was my first time being in jail, you know.
He says spaces were filled with both ICE detainees and jail inmates. Candy Ojai Sheriff Eric Tollefson confirmed that while they are kept together, they're separated by security levels.
Knowing that he was in a place like that was very heartbreaking, broke my heart.
He said he only spent a few waking hours inside his cell where he slept. 21 days later, he was released on bond as he fights an order for removal.
I was very happy, I jumped to his arm.
But Astrid took a different path from the Whipple building that January day.
They had our hand tied, our legs tied together as well. In the airplane.
She was flown to El Paso's Camp East Montana Detention Center.
There was about 80 women just in that big room. Inside, that's where the bathrooms are, the showers are, and that's where we were the whole time.
What was the food like?
It was horrible. It was like canned food that they would just plate up. It was horrible.
Meanwhile, her family didn't know she was taken.
We were very worried. We're like, where is she? She wasn't showing up in the system. Yeah, after being there for 2 days, I was able to finally make a call to my family.
She spent time getting to know the other women there.
Talk about how we had gotten detained, most of them going to work, some of them while putting their kids into the school.
Eventually, she was taken to Karnes County Correctional Facility before she was deported to El Salvador 2.5 weeks after being detained. Neither Astrid nor Alfredo has a criminal record in Minnesota beyond misdemeanor driving offenses.
After being here so long, it's taking me a while to get used to it again.
They say their life's rhythm is now filled with dissonance. Sammy Solina, Kare 11 News.
ICE responded, saying agents were looking for a wanted criminal illegal alien and enforces laws passed by Congress and will not ignore the rule of law. Tonight, the Hermantown City Council meeting, Minnesota Power will give new updates on a proposed Google data center. The building will help power Google services like Workspace, Search, YouTube, and Maps. Minnesota Power says existing customers in the area will not have to pay any additional fees. Residents have expressed issues about the center for environmental concerns. Stick with us. There's more news and weather coming up after the break.